And just take a few moments to start to notice your breath. Pay attention to how you're breathing. And just try to focus on making your breath smooth. Try to inhale a little longer before you exhale. Notice your belly rise with each inhale and hollow out on each exhale. And just try to keep your attention on your breath. Try to let any thoughts or feelings you may be having go and just relax in to the present moment. Feel your ribs and lungs expand out on each of your inhales. On your next inhale, stretch your arms overhead and point your toes, stretch out long, come into a big morning stretch. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes. Just start to invite some movement into your body. And slowly walk your ankles over to the right side of your mat. Maybe cross one ankle over the other. And then slowly walk your arms and wrists over to the right side of your mat. Stretch out through your left side body. Feel the stretch, soften in. Try to keep your breaths that even, smooth texture. And on your next exhale, come back to center. Uncross your feet. Stretch out through your arms and toes. And start to walk your ankles over to the left side of your mat. Maybe cross one foot over the other. And walk your hands and shoulders over to the left side of your mat. Feel the stretch in your right side body. Focus in on keeping your breath smooth. And on your next exhale, come back to center. Hug both knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side. Loosen up any tightness in your back. And extend your feet overhead. Your hands can come down next to your hips, palms down. Take a moment to settle in here. Feel the sensation in your legs. And bend your left knee to a 90-degree angle. Turn your toes out about 35 degrees to the right side and cross your right ankle over your left knee. Coming into a reclined figure 4, you can keep your hands down on the mat or reach behind and grab for your left hamstring or shin. Feel the stretch in your right outer hip. Try to soften into the sensation. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And go ahead and release both feet to the mat. Bring your soles of your feet down, knees pointing towards the ceiling. You can go ahead and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Maybe stay on one side a little longer before going to the other. And come back to stillness in the middle. Hug both knees into your chest. Go ahead and rock side to side here if that feels good, or stay in stillness. If you're rocking, come back to stillness. Hug your knees in and extend your feet up towards the ceiling. Stay here. Feel the sensations in your legs. Just take notice of right now, how do you feel? Are your hamstrings tight? Can you notice anything here? Just try to relax in. And bend your right knee to a 90-degree angle. Turn your left toes out towards the side, about 35 degrees, and cross your ankle over your knee. Come into reclined figure 4. Your hands can stay on the mat or reach behind your hamstring or shin on the right side. Relax in here. Feel the stretch in the left outer hip. Try to send your breath there. If your hips are tight, try to release it. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And release your feet down to the mat. Uncross your left foot, put it back on the mat, and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And come back to stillness in the middle. Hug your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg out long on the mat. Breathe in here. Keep your left hand on your right knee. Extend your right arm out long to a T and drop your right knee over to the left side of the mat. Gaze over your right shoulder. Come into supine twist. Try to keep your right shoulder grounded down on the mat. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly bring that right knee back to center. Give it one more hug in and extend your right leg out long. Hug your left knee into your chest. Give it a nice little squeeze. Keep your right hand on your left knee. Extend your left arm out long to a T and drop your left knee over to the right side. Gaze over the left shoulder. Remember to try to keep that left shoulder grounded down. We're here for 3 deep breaths. Remember to try to focus on keeping your breath even and smooth. And slowly bring that left knee back up and extend it out long. Bring your hands back down to your hips. Hug both knees into your chest. Go ahead and rock side to side. And find your way up to a seated position. Extend both feet out to a wide-legged seat, grounding down through your sitting bones. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, bring your right elbow to the inside edge of your right thigh. Extend your left arm over your ear. Stretch out through your left side body. Gaze can be up towards the ceiling or the sky. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. And slowly rise back up to center. Inhale, reach both arms overhead. Exhale, bring your left elbow down to the left inside edge of your thigh. Extend your right arm over your ear. Gaze up to the sky or the ceiling. Feel the stretch in your right side body. Make sure both of your sitting bones are grounded down. If your one hip is lifting off the mat, just go ahead and back off. Maybe come up onto your palm and stretch your arm out. We're here for 2 more cycles of breath. And come back up to a seated position. Close your legs together, come into stack pose. Go ahead and ground down through your sitting bones if everything got messed up when you closed your legs. Draw your right knee into your chest. Go ahead and step your right foot to the outside edge of your left thigh. Take your left arm out to a T. Wrap it around your right leg. Extend your right arm out behind you. Gaze over the right shoulder. When you inhale, sit up nice and tall through the crown. And on each exhale, try to twist in a little deeper. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly come back to center. Bring your foot back over to the right, extend it out long. Hug your left knee into your chest. Step your left foot over to the outside edge of your right thigh. Bring your right arm out to a T. Hug it around your left leg. Extend your left arm out behind you. Gaze over your left shoulder. Remember to grow tall through the crown and exhaling, twisting a little deeper. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly come back to the front. Uncross your legs, stretch your left leg out long. You can go ahead and shake your legs out and then come into an easy seated position. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Keep your arms up overhead. Take your right hand, grab your left wrist, stretch over to the right side. Heart turns towards the ceiling, gazing up towards the ceiling. Feel the stretch in your left side body. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. And come back to center. Bring your hands back down. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Stop here. Remember to keep your shoulders away from the ears. Take your left hand, grab your right wrist. Slowly start to tilt over to the left side. Open your chest towards the ceiling. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Feel the stretch in your right side body. Your left hand can be giving your right arm a gentle pull. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly come back to center. Release your hands back down to the mat. Extend your arms out to a T. Cross your right arm over your left to the left side. Bring your left hand underneath your right arm. Hug into your right shoulder. Feel the stretch in your right shoulder and arm. Remember to breathe here. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. Go ahead and release your arms. Maybe shake them out. That feels good. Extend your arms out to a T. Cross your left arm over to the right side. Hook your right arm under your left elbow. Hug in. Feel the stretch in your left shoulder and arm. Sit up nice and tall. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. And release. Maybe shake it out. That feels good. We're going to come over to tabletop, hands and knees. Make sure your elbow or your wrists are in line with your shoulders. Make sure your fingers are spread out wide. Pointer fingers are pointing towards the top of your mat. Knees are in line with your hips. Make sure you have a nice base of support. Knees are hip distance apart. Bring your right foot behind you. Slowly start to pulse out through your heel. Go with the rhythm that feels good for you. Feel that stretch in your right calf. And go ahead and bring your knee back down to meet your left. Extend your left leg out long. Go ahead and start to pulse out through the back heel. Slowly start to lower it down towards the mat and then bring it back up. Go ahead and do this at your pace. And bring your left knee back down to meet your right. Ground down through your right knee and your right hand. Extend your left leg out behind you, bringing it in line with your knee on the right side. Extend your right arm overhead. You can stay here or lift that left leg off the mat, flexing your left foot. You could stay here or come into side plank. We're here for 3 deep breaths. And lower your left hand back down to the mat. Bring your knees back down to the mat. Ground down through your left hand and left knee. Stretch your right leg out behind you. Extend your right arm overhead. Option to stay here or lift your right leg off the mat. Flexing that right foot. Option to stay there or come in to full side plank. If you're in full side plank, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Ground down through your left hand. We're here for 3 deep breaths. And bring your right hand back down to the mat. Come back to tabletop. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together. Sink back. We're coming into wide knee child's pose. Rest your forehead on the mat. Just take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly rise back up. Come back to tabletop. Bring your elbows down to the mat, palms facing on the mat. Feel a nice base of support through your elbows and your palms. Tuck your toes. Slowly start to lift your knees off the mat and your hips up and back. Maybe sink your heels down or coming into dolphin pose. Remember to breathe here. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. You have the option to drop back down to child's pose at any point. And slowly lower your knees back down to the mat. Untuck your toes, bring your knees out wide, sink back to child's pose. Come back up to tabletop. Bring your elbows down to the mat, palms facing down the mat. Ground down through your palms and your elbows. Tuck your toes and slowly come back to dolphin pose. This time when we're here, we're going to lift our right leg high in the air. Pause here for a moment and then lower our right foot back down. Pause here in the middle and extend our left leg up towards the ceiling. Pause here and bring our left foot back down to the mat. Bring our knees down to the mat. Knees out wide, big toes together, sink back to child's pose. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Bring your palms together. Extend your arms out long with your palms together, and then bring your thumbs to your neck. You can stay here or walk your elbows forward, stretching out through the backs of your arms and your shoulders. Release your hands. Come back up to tabletop. Ground down through your hands. And we're going to step our right foot between our hands. Slowly start to wiggle your left foot back. Bring your hands to your hips. Pause here. Feel the stretch in your left hip flexor. Sit up nice and tall and extend your arms overhead. Shoulders away from the ears. We're here for 3 deep breaths. Bring your hands back down to frame your front foot. Slowly start to sink your hips back, straighten that front leg. Lift your right toes off the mat. Come into runner stretch, stretching out through that right hamstring. Remember to focus on your breath here. Try to keep it even and smooth on the inhale and exhale. And try to use your breath and your focus to release any tension you may have in that right hamstring. Try to keep your hips square. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. Lower your right toes down to the mat. Slowly start to bend that right knee. Place your left hand on the mat. Bring your right arm to your hip or extend it up towards the sky. Or you can bring that right hand and bend it and place it on your sacrum. Remember to keep your shoulders rotating out towards the right side, twisting in. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. And place your right hand back down on the mat. Slowly start to heel toe your foot back up to your knees under your hip on the left side. Step your right knee back, come into tabletop. Set up here, just check your alignment, make sure your wrists are in line with your shoulders, knees are in line with your hips, and step your left foot between your hands. Slowly start to walk that left foot or the right foot back. Set up for crescent lunge. Slowly start to rise up here. Pause here with your hands on your hips. Notice the stretch in your right hip flexor. Make sure your hips are square. You can bring your left hip back to make sure they're in line. And raise your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Remember to breathe in here. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Bring your hands back down to frame your front foot. Slowly start to sink your hips back, straighten that left leg. Left toes come off the mat. Stretch back to runner stretch. Feel the stretch in your left hamstring. Soften in. Again, try to focus your attention and your breath to the hamstring. If it's tight, try to visualize your breath releasing the tension. Stay with me here for 2 more cycles of breath. Slowly start to bend that left knee, lower your left toes to the mat. Come back to crescent lunge here. Place your left hand on the mat, right hand on your hip, or left hand on your hip, left hand overhead, or your left hand can come back to behind your sacrum. Remember, we're twisting open to the left side. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. And release your left hand back down to frame your front foot. Step your knees back, come into tabletop. Ground down through your palms, tuck your toes. Slowly start to lift your knees off the mat and sink your hips up and back. Come into your first down dog. If this is your first down dog of the day, go ahead and pedal your feet out, or maybe come up onto your tippy toes and then try to lower your heels down to the mat. Go ahead and play here for a moment. And extend your right leg high in the air. Thread it through for low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead. Settle in here. Anchor your left heel down, spin open, come into warrior two. Sink into that front knee. Your right knee is tracking towards your little toe. Arms are out in a T. Shoulders away from the ears. Pause here. Flip your front palm. Slowly start to rise up into peaceful warrior, reverse warrior. Your left hand is reaching down your left leg, right arm overhead, stretching out through your right side body. And slowly come back up to warrior two. Slowly start to straighten your front leg. Hinge at your hips and reach your right hand down, come into triangle. Left arm is extended overhead, gaze is up towards the ceiling or straight out in front of you if you have a neck issue. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. Slowly start to bend into the front knee, grounding down through the soles of your feet. Find your strength and stability and rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel and step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. Pause here. And with ease and control, lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Palms are underneath your shoulders. Squeezing your thighs and through the tops of your foot, pushing down to the mat. Peel your heart off the mat, come into cobra. Squeezing your shoulder blades together. And release down to the mat. Tuck your back toes. Push back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet and slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Settle in here. Spin your back heel down, come into warrior two. Sinking into your left leg, weight in your left heel. Left knee tracking towards your pinky toe. Arms out to a T. Settle in here. Flip your front palm and slowly start to reach your arm overhead and walk your right hand down your right leg. Come into reverse warrior. Feel the stretch in your left side body. And slowly come back up to warrior two. Slowly start to straighten that front leg. Hinge at your hips. Reach your left hand down for your shin or the mat. Right arm extends overhead. Gaze is up towards the sky or the ceiling or straight out in front of you. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Slowly start to bend into that left knee. Ground down through your feet. Feel nice and strong through your feet. And slowly start to rise up to warrior two. Take a breath here. And windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel and step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. You can take a vinyasa or chaturanga here. We're going to lower down, come into cobra or up dog, and exhale, come back to down dog. You can just lower your knees down to the mat for just a moment. In this next little sequence part, we're going to come into half moon. If you need a wall for half moon or a block, go ahead and make sure you have that set up. I'll make sure I show you what to do. So we're all going to come back to down dog. Inhale, lift your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead. Anchor your left heel back down, come into warrior two. Flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Slowly rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot, spin off your back heel. If you need a wall, go ahead and use that. If you need a block, go ahead and use it. Bring it in front of your right foot. You can either keep it on the low, medium, or high setting. Slowly start to lift your left foot off the mat and rotate open to the side. Your left heel is hip level. Toes are flexed. Left arm is overhead, feeling strong through that right leg. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Slowly start to bring your left hand back down to the mat. Close your hip, step back to low lunge. Ground down through your hands, step back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Slowly rise back up to high lunge, arms overhead. Anchor your right heel down to the mat, come into warrior two. Spin open, flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Slowly rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot, spin off your back heel. Remember, set up here either with the wall or a block, or if you can do half moon without any props, go ahead and set up. Start to lift your right foot off the mat, spin your hip open, extend your arm overhead. Find your strength and stability here. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Bring your right hand down to the mat, close your hip, and step back to low lunge. Ground down through the palms of your hands, step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. Slowly lower all the way down. Untuck your toes, come into cobra or up dog. Tuck your back toes, come back into down dog. Just take a pause here. Lift your right leg high in the air. Exhale, place your right foot on the outside edge of your right hand. You have the option to stay here or lower your left knee down to the mat. Option to stay here or bring your elbows down to the mat. Come into lizard pose. Feel the stretch in your right hip. We're here for 5 more slow, deep breaths. Remember to focus in on keeping your breath even and smooth on your inhales and exhales. Yoga teaches us how to deal with discomfort by focusing our attention on our breathing, connecting our bodies with our breath. If you came down onto your elbows, come back up onto your palms. If you dropped your knee, go ahead and lift your knee off the mat. Ground down through your palms and step your right foot back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, step your left foot to the outside edge of your left hand. Option to stay here or drop your right knee down to the mat. Option to stay here or bring your elbows down to the mat or to a block. Take notice if one side is tighter than the other. Totally normal. One side usually is a little more open than the other. Settle in. We're here for 5 more slow, deep breaths. Slowly start to rise back up. If you came down onto your elbows, ground down through your palms, lift your right knee off the mat. If you dropped it down, and step your left foot back to down dog. Take a pause here. And lower your knees back down to the mat. And slowly rise up. Come onto your knees. Your knees and hips should be in line with your shoulders. Place your hands on your sacrum. Squeeze your elbows together. Draw your shoulder blades in. And slowly sink back to your hips forward. Heart opens towards the ceiling. Your head maybe sinks back. Come into camel. You have the option to stay here or drop your hands down to your heels. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. If you dropped your hands down to your heels, slowly rise up. Place your hands on your sacrum. And come back up to center. Bring your hands back down to the mat. come in to tabletop. Sink your knees out wide, toes together. Sink your hips back, come into child's pose. Arms extend out in front of you. Forehead comes down to the mat. Find your breath. Keep your left palm on the mat. Extend your right arm overhead and thread your right hand under your body. Go ahead and lower your head back down to the mat. Feel the stretch in your right shoulder. You can gaze over your right fingers. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly rise up and bring your right hand back out. Place it out in front of you. Lower down. Extend your left arm overhead. Thread your left arm under your body. Lower down. Gaze over your left fingers. Feel the stretch in your left shoulder and arm. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. And slowly rise back up. Place your left hand back out in front of you and lower down. Take 1 more deep breath here in child's pose before rising back up to tabletop. Come into an easy seated position and then bring your soles of your feet to the mat, knees pointing towards the ceiling. We're going to lower down. If you'd like, you can engage the core and just slowly lower all the way down, or you can just come all the way down to the mat. Totally up to you. Bring your ankles in line with your knees, soles of your feet on the mat, hands are down by your hips. Slowly lift your hips off the mat. Squeeze your glutes. Come into bridge pose. You have the option to stay here or walk your shoulder blades together and release your fingers underneath your back. Stretch out through your chest. Stay here for 5 slow, deep breaths. If you interlace your fingers, go ahead and release them. Walk your shoulder blades out and slowly lower down, bringing 1 vertebrae at a time. Bring your hips down last to the mat. Stay here. Let that settle into your body. Start thinking about your next bridge. We're going to take 1 more, so make a conscious decision if you'd like to do the same thing we did, or do a restorative if you have a block nearby, placing the block under your sacrum. Or feel free to come into wheel pose if that's in your practice. Take one more deep breath in. And on your exhale, slowly start to lift your hips off the mat. Squeeze your glutes. Feel free to walk your shoulder blades together, interlacing your fingers underneath you. Stretching out through your chest. We're here for 5 slow, deep breaths. Release your hands, walk your shoulder blades out. Slowly lower down 1 vertebrae at a time. Bring your hips down last. Take a pause here. Go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. Go ahead and rock side to side if that feels good. And extend your legs up towards the ceiling. You have the option to stay here and legs up the wall, or if you'd like to go further, feel free to come into plow or shoulder stand. We're going to be here for 1 minute, so feel free to find your way into whatever inversion you would like. You can feel free to go into a position, and if it's no longer serving you, go into another. Feel free to play. If you went into another position, slowly find your way out of it and hug your knees into your chest. You can rock side to side. Release your arms out to a T. Go ahead and bring your knees to a 90-degree angle and drop your knees down to the left side of the mat. Gaze over your right shoulder. Come into supine twist. On your next cycle of breath, bring your knees back to center. Pause here. And then drop your knees over to the right side of your mat. Gaze over your left shoulder. On your next cycle of breath, bring your knees back up to center and hug your knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side. Maybe grab down and reach for the outside edges of your feet and come into happy baby. Hugging your knees in towards your body. At this time, I invite you to do any asana you need to do today to complete your practice. And when you're ready, hug your knees into your chest and find yourself whatever position you would like for relaxation, settling into Shavasana. Maybe extend your feet out wide, relaxing your arms down to your sides, palms facing up. Close your eyes, softening in to the mat, relaxing your eyes, relaxing the space between your eyes, your third eye. Soften in. Feel the weight of the ground beneath your body. Just take a few minutes to relax in, letting everything go. Slowly deepen your breath. Maybe start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe circle your wrists and your ankles. Slowly reach your arms overhead, extend out through your toes. Take one final morning stretch. And roll over onto your right or left side. Pausing there before slowly rising back up to a seated position. close your eyes and bring your hands to heart center. Yoga is a tool that we can draw on in life when uncomfortable situations arise. Remember, whatever life throws at you, you have the tools inside of you. Remember to focus on your breathing, connecting to your breath. I wish you a very peaceful day. Thank you so much for showing up and practicing with me. Namaste.